A bullet of mass 10 grams and traveling at a speed of 500 meters per second strikes a block of mass 2 kg which is suspended by a string of length 5 meters. The bullet goes through the block in a very short time and the center of gravity of the block is found to rise a vertical distance of 10 meters. So it rises for 10 meters there. I mean 10 centimeters. What is the speed of the bullet just after it emerges from the block? So just after it comes out here, what will be its speed? So let's call it v. Well, from the momentum equation, m1 u1 plus m2 u2 is equal to m1 v1 plus m2 v2. Mass 1, the bullet, let's call it mass 1. The mass is 10 grams. Converting that one to kg, we divide by 1000, that will give us 0.01. And then it is moving at 500 meters per second. The block is at rest initially. So the velocity is what? 0. So momentum is also going to be 0. Mass 1 is still 0.01, but we don't know the velocity at which it will come out. Let's call it v1. And then plus mass 2, which is 2 kg. But it's going to start moving and it will move. It will gain a certain velocity v2. So when it is hit at this very point, before impact it doesn't have any velocity, but when it gets hit at that very moment it's going to gain some velocity at this very moment. So initially this is at rest, but at the point when the bullet reaches here and hits it, it gains a certain velocity v2. That is the velocity that is going to make it to go up to that point. Alright, so it's going to gain a certain velocity v2. Now from here, because of this velocity that it has gained, is going to rise, and so it has been given some kinetic energy. It has been given some energy to move. So this same kinetic energy which it has been given, it is going to move and reach this point. Notice that this point where it reaches, it stops moving. That's why it will come back, and so at that point it is going to have a velocity of 0. And so every kind of kinetic energy that it has is going to be converted into potential energy because of the height through which it has been raised. And so kinetic energy is given by half mv squared. That is going to be equal to potential energy, which is mgh. From here we can see masses are going just to cancel out. So v squared is going to give us 2gh. Now this v is the same v with which it is going to start moving up to that point. And so v is going to be the square root of 2gh, and that is 2g is 9.8. The height it has to raise for 100 centimeters. Let's convert that to meters. Just divide by 100. That is going to be 0.1. So v2, which we are finding here, is going to be 2 multiplied by 9.8, then multiplied by 0.1, then we square root. So that is giving me 1.4 meters per second. So this is the velocity. So this will be 0.01, well, 0.01 multiplied by 500. That is a 5. So 5 is equal to 0.01 v1 plus 2. Where there is v2, we have found the velocity at which it will be moving now, which is 1.4. So the same velocity with which it will start moving here will be the final velocity here, because initially it had the velocity of 0. So this will be 5 is equal to 0.01 v1 plus 2 multiplied by 1.4. That is going to be 2.8, and I can take the 2.8 over the other side. It becomes negative, so that will be 5 minus 2.8 is equal to 0.01 v1. So we say 0.01 v1 is equal to 5 subtract 2.8, that is a 2.2. So divide both sides by 0.01. So v1 is going to give us, that is a 220 meters per second, and so that is the answer then.